Hey everyone, so this is a long overdue update. I completed my fourth semester, second year as a PhD student at Indiana University Bloomington. Really quick, big milestone updates. This semester is when I finally completed my master's degree. I did all the coursework required to finish the master's and then did the master's research thesis project. Got that signed off and squared away. So I received my master's this semester, which is really exciting. Being a first generation student, my brother has his master's. I'm like second in the group of siblings that received a master's degree. But regardless, like, it's the highest level of education so far that has been in my family lineage. And then I'm continuing on to get my PhD. Really excited to share with you guys that I was selected to receive a National Science Foundation Research Graduate Fellowship. I think I talked about it in the previous video, but I did apply to the NSF. I didn't apply my first year because now they've changed the rules where you can only apply once as a grad student, so I decided to apply in my second year in my PhD program so that I had better chances, just had a better grasp of like how to write grants, fellowships, applications. I knew my master's thesis project a little bit better, so I could speak to it. I did apply to the Ford my first year because you could try more than once. I did not get that fellowship, but I did get a lot of really good feedback from the Ford Foundation that I utilized in my NSF. So I didn't reapply to Ford because, when you get rejected, it's kind of hard to get back up on your feet. So I did not reapply to the Ford because I wanted to dedicate all my time to the NSF, which really worked out because then I received it. It was it was like a roller coaster of a morning when I got the email from NSF saying, congratulations, you were selected to be awarded this fellowship and blah, blah, blah. I definitely hyperventilated and cried and all that stuff. But once I got past that, after an hour of just like basking in like, what? Like, this is something that I got, crazy. I was really happy for myself, and I probably celebrated that entire week and kind of like took it easy because I was like, you know what? This is a big deal. Like, well, the NSF Fellowship is one of the most prestigious fellowships a graduate student can be awarded in their graduate careers. It covers a bunch of STEM fields of study, and within it, I applied as a social science PhD student. Below, I'm going to link a really helpful website that has a lot of examples of past winners, and which I, perused for a long time and just looked to see like what was the commonalities in people that were awarded the fellowship and how they wrote their personal statements, how they wrote their NSF research proposal. And I also got help within the department. Previous winners at Indiana University were kind enough to share their material, so I used a lot of that stuff. And it was like a back and forth, give and take with sending it off to professors, to colleagues, having other people look at it, like having more than one draft of all of these different materials that NSF requires. So yeah, I'm really excited. So I will be on the NSF fellowship for the next 3 years, which is my third year, fourth year, and fifth year. And then from then we'll see what I do. So yeah, that was probably the highlight of my spring semester. And then secondly, I also want to celebrate that I got my master's degree, which is also very exciting. We did not have a fully in-person graduate ceremony. At IU, only the graduates were able to go in person and walk, and then family and friends had to watch virtually. So I was like, I'm not gonna walk. I'm gonna go home to Vegas and actually celebrate with my family and friends. We're all vaccinated and safe, and it would only be within the family and friends. So I decided to just go home and celebrate with family then, which was super fun. Lots of good food. So anyways, getting a master's is a super good feeling, especially when being in a PhD program can average like 5 to 7, if not more than 7 years. So I'm extremely happy that I completed a master's degree because next stop is that PhD. So typically in sociology, once you finish your MA thesis, you work to get that published into a good sociology journal, one of the top sociology journals in your discipline. To be in academia, it means that, unfortunately, there is a publish or perish mentality. What this means is that the publications are like Michelin stars for restaurants, or like Grammys for musical producers or musical artists. It's a metric to show that you are capable of producing research that is accepted at very prestigious journals and peer-reviewed and represents like the highest caliber of work. And this is how you get a job, essentially, in academia. The reason I say, unfortunately, there is a publish or perish mentality is because this may not align with your research objectives or your objectives as a scholar in training, because it does take a lot of work. I think there are a lot of preconceptions about academia where, you do research for a population and make the world a better place. With publications, they, to me, seem as if they're more accolades for your scholarship and your prowess as an academic, which is, good and bad. I think that it represents that, you're held to a higher standard and that the research that you produce is actually like really, really, really good research. Yet, sometimes in academia, or what I've experienced, is that publications are like trophies where you publish something and, like that's it and that's done. Whereas I feel like for me, it is a lot more beneficial to like do research, get it published, make sure that it's good quality research, and then kind of share that finding and extend your findings to actually help the population that you're researching, right? Which brings me to the main topic of this video. Not only do I want to provide an update of where I'm at in the program, I also want to share what I know up to this point about the industry I am in, which is academia, and what it means and what it will mean to pursue a career in academia. I want to share some pros and cons from my perspective about sticking around in a grad program. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the bad news first. Let's get that mess out of the way now. One of the main cons of staying in a program is the inequality within a graduate program. Academia is first and foremost a business, and the business that they're in is producing academics, right? As a graduate student, you usually are, I can only speak for maybe some social programs, but usually you are funded, tuition is paid for, and you receive a stipend, mainly to be a graduate assistant, a teaching assistant, or to teach yourself, or do research or work for a specific professor who has money. One of my problems with academia is that obviously we're underpaid for the type of work we're doing. Oftentimes, advanced graduate students are like teaching full-on courses and getting paid, like below the poverty line in most states. So as a grad student, you are treated as this hybrid of a student and a professional, and paid like such. So it's been a pretty big struggle, is that in the average of 5 to 7 years that you're in a PhD program, you might not have the best financial means to be living the life that you want. I felt as if I didn't know the ins and outs of what it meant to be in grad school, and I felt like, pressure from my own insecurities and my family and my friends to, like be making good money. I mean, you have a master's, why aren't you making, X amount of dollars by now? And in an immigrant family, the idea is that you want to come to America, and make it big and make the big bucks. So it's really, it's a struggle to, every year still not be paid, like a 6-figure salary, for example, right? So academia, you just have to be ready to not make a lot of money for a little longer. I feel like once a week I'm just like, I want to get out of academia because I want to start making good money, living, a good life where I'm not like financially insecure. But the reason I'm staying, the work that I'm doing is work that I love to do, and research that I really, really am interested in, and I'm learning skills that I really want to learn, and I know that I can apply later on once I'm done with the graduate program. So that's what's keeping me going, despite financial insecurity, not making a huge amount of money. Once I do get out, I will have a lot of skills that can be applied to jobs and careers that make good money. I want to talk a little bit about the pros of being in a graduate program because we should end on positivity. So why am I continuing my PhD? Again, because I got my master's, even though this isn't a terminal master's degree program, there is something that grad students can do, which is master out. So you can not continue on to get your PhD, but you could just end with your master's and move on to different industries, different sectors, go pursue other degrees like law school or medical school or something like that, or go right into the public sector, the private sector, non-academic jobs, government jobs, etc. I just love what I do. I love the topics that I'm researching. I think I have grown tremendously in the past 2 years as a scholar, as a citizen, as just a general human being. I think sociology is one of the most useful disciplines that we have that exists in humanity, and I love what I'm reading and what I'm learning, the topics that I get to learn about. I lean more towards quantitative methodology, so I am a quantitative scholar, and I think these skills are amazing to learn. You're going to need to know how to code, know how to run programming software, statistical software. You want to go into a job in data analytics, and I think this is a great place for me to still be and still keep learning while learning more theoretical or substantive topics such as protest research or social movement recruitment, social movement participation. These are the things that I love to learn, especially coinciding with the pandemic, with the blatant income inequality that we're now finally aware about, and also the racial hostility that's happening in America. And I'm lucky to be in a discipline where I can be a very active and well-informed citizen while it also overlapping with my career and the topics that I am interested in. I also really love the creative freedom that you have as a grad student, asterisk creative freedom, researching whatever you want within the confines of the mentorship system. Academia is still very structured in a way that is so archaic. You are going through an apprenticeship, and you have to work under a professor or professors, maybe use their data. For my master's, I am working with a professor's data set. For the work that I'm doing over summer, I'm working under a bigger research project with 2 professors. So while these are not my projects, I still have the creative freedom to decide what topics I want to get into. I think I'm just kind of hanging on up until I do have the freedom as a professor / researcher to research kind of whatever I want. I don't know where else in the non-academic world I would be paid to research social movement participation or social movement within immigrant populations. If you know of something, let me know. The third pro of being in a graduate program is that I think as grad students and as teachers, essentially, when you are a teaching assistant, a graduate assistant, or even an associate instructor teaching your own classes, you have the ability to affect people's lives and teach young minds in a very fulfilling way. If you love knowledge and you love being able to get others excited about the topics that you are also excited about, then this is pretty much the perfect place to be. Fourth, I think, is I really like the systematic way that academia attacks social problems and information production in general. I think in academia, you are placed in a position where what is expected of you is the highest caliber of work, and to be in an industry where peer review is the norm of ensuring quality in the research output that you produce. And I think that's really cool to be in this collective community of scholars. Your job in academia is to think hard and think critically, which I think is a super cool job. I think academia is a good place to think critically about the social ills and problems of our society, and dedicating your life to making the world a better place. I mean, that's what hopefully I'm doing, right? You can research practically whatever you want. You can teach practically however you want and be a part of educating the next generation of minds and young scholars. And lastly, to go back to the point where, the biggest con of grad school, I think, is just inequality in many different forms. I think like you kind of have to adapt and live with, like, again, financial insecurity, the inequality of resources being distributed within a graduate program, right? Like with funding and opportunities and all of that. I think that we need to fill the seats of power in academia as a discipline, as an industry, with people who come from disadvantaged and marginalized backgrounds, so that when we are in positions of power, when we do have a seat at the table, then we have a background that is sensitive and understands where disadvantaged populations come from, and we can try to make it better. Essentially, dismantling the institution from within. I am not there yet, but I definitely want to keep going so that eventually, once I, am successful and am in a position where I'm a researcher, professor, or whatever, we can make the changes that I would have wanted as a grad student. 5 years from now, I'm going to remember how I felt as a grad student and really work to make the changes that I think would benefit the industry as a whole. And so I think that there are a lot of pros in this career, but also a lot of cons. And I think once you overcome those cons, then there is a way to make things better, pioneer the path for those who are coming after you. So that's my perspective. So the next steps for me are taking my qualifying exams and also finishing about 4 more courses for both my minor and my broader sociology curriculum that of all the classes I need to take. I think I have 1 class left for sociology and then 3 classes left for my statistics minor. But I'm almost done with the requirements for coursework. And after doing the qualifying exams, I will be in a good position to be working on my dissertation proposal and then working on my dissertation after that. And hopefully, it doesn't take too much time. I hope that this video was helpful. Disclaimer, everything that I've said about the pros and cons are my own personal experiences and my own opinions. So if you want to debate with me, let's talk about it down in the comment section. But it's what I've lived through and my reflections on what's going on in academia. So, all we can do is try to be the change we wish to see in the academic discipline. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.